Ladies and gentlemen, you are not tired. You are simply at war with your distractions, with your impulses, with that part of you that fears stillness. You scroll, you chase, you run from routine because silence feels like suffocation. But in that silence is where your life begins. Let me tell you something. The world will never shout from rooftops. Consistency is not a cage. It's the key. You're not forcing yourself to suffer. You're guiding yourself back to alignment. Because the truth is, everything you want is already waiting for you on the other side of consistency. We live in a culture that worships intensity. Grind for 12 hours. Make it happen now. But the people who truly succeed, the ones who remain, are not intense. They are consistent. Intensity burns bright and dies fast. But consistency is the slow fire that cooks greatness. And it's showing up when no one claps, or repeating when nothing changes. It's believing that every action compounds, even when your eyes can't see the results yet. And this is why you must force yourself, not violently, not angrily, but with quiet love. Force yourself to return, to wake up early even when you're exhausted, to write when no one reads, to work out when you don't see progress, to build. Even when the foundation looks like dust, because this is what separates dreamers from doers. The dreamers hope it'll happen. The doers become the rhythm that makes it happen. Now here's the paradox. When you force yourself to be consistent, you stop needing to force life. Everything that once resisted you, people, opportunities, results, they start moving toward you. Not because life suddenly becomes easier, but because you've become unshakable. You no longer chase, you attract. You no longer react, you respond. You no longer doubt, you return. And every time you return to the gym, to the book, to the task, to the goal, you remind life, I'm serious, I'm staying, I'm here. And when you stay long enough, life has no choice but to open. Yes, force yourself, not because you hate yourself, but because you love who you're becoming. Because consistency is not punishment. It is preparation. One day, you'll look back and realize that mundane act you repeated every day, that meditation, that journaling, that study session, that morning walk, that was your revolution. And the day it all clicks, you'll smile because you'll know without a doubt you didn't change your life in one big moment. You changed it by showing up again and again until everything fell into place. Consistency isn't discipline. It's alignment with purpose. You don't force it. You return to it. This is a truth that most of us misunderstand because we've been raised in systems that reward urgency, pressure, and punishment. We're taught to believe that consistency is about being hard on ourselves, about waking up and pushing through pain, about silencing emotion just to keep moving. But that's not consistency, that's coercion. And anything that begins in force eventually collapses under resistance. Real consistency, the kind that lasts a lifetime, doesn't come from the clenched jaw of willpower. It comes from understanding, from remembering why you started. It's not about being perfect every day. It's about being aligned every day. Alignment is what makes repetition feel meaningful. It's the deeper knowing that this matters, even if it's not glamorous right now. When your actions are in harmony with your values, your goals stop being burdens. They become extensions of who you are. But let's be honest, alignment gets lost, life moves fast, you get distracted, you drift. And when you drift, it's easy to start believing you're lazy, undisciplined, or broken. You tell yourself, if I could just be more motivated, more focused, more like them. But the real issue isn't laziness, it's disconnection. Disconnection from your vision, from your purpose, from your truth. When you don't remember why, the what feels heavy. So you must return. Return again and again to your core. Return to your reason. And sometimes, yes, returning feels like forcing. But that's only in the beginning. That force is not aggression, it's redirection. It's like waking up a sleeping part of yourself that forgot how powerful you are. You must nudge it. You must say, get up. Remember, we're not done yet. And each time you return, it gets easier. Not because life gets easier, but because you get clearer. You stop negotiating with distractions. You stop making decisions based on how you feel in the moment. You start making choices based on who you're becoming. That is alignment, that is freedom. Discipline, as it's often portrayed, is about pressure, gritting your teeth, dragging yourself through tasks you hate. But consistency through alignment feels different. It's a quiet pull, not a loud push. You begin to realize that you're not forcing yourself, you're following yourself. The highest version of you already exists. Your job is to meet them, daily, through simple acts, through repeated effort, through staying the course. And here's where everything shifts. When your actions are aligned with your purpose, momentum builds, and momentum makes consistency feel effortless. Not because it stops being work, but because it starts feeling right. You're no longer trying to escape the work. You're grounded in it. You stop asking, do I feel like it today, and start saying, this is who I am now. It's not punishment, it's practice. It's not routine, it's ritual. But remember, even aligned people forget. Even the most consistent people fall off track. That's not the end. That's just another call to return. The greatest thing you can do for yourself is to stop waiting for perfect discipline and start building deeper alignment. Ask yourself, why does this matter? Who am I becoming? What am I really committed to? Because when your actions and your answers are in sync, consistency no longer feels like a burden. It becomes inevitable. And that's when things start falling into place. Not because the world changes, but because you do. Your future self is shaped in silence, not in bursts of effort. The quiet repetition carves your destiny. This is something the world won't celebrate. It glorifies the loud victories, the promotion, the spotlight, the transformation. But it overlooks the invisible hours, the mornings you got up when you didn't want to, the pages you wrote when inspiration had dried up, the lonely walks you took to clear your mind. No one claps for consistency in the dark. Yet that is exactly where greatness is born. You see, we've been sold the idea that breakthroughs come like lightning, sudden, dramatic, powerful. And while those moments do exist, they don't arise from nowhere. They're built on layers of quiet discipline. What truly changes you isn't the grand leap, it's the daily step. What makes you extraordinary isn't what you do occasionally when you're inspired, it's what you repeat, especially when you're not. That version of you that you dream of, the one who is calm, strong, confident, successful, that version isn't created in a single act of heroism. They are shaped in the ordinary moments you usually dismiss. When you choose to read instead of scroll, when you choose to move your body instead of complain, when you choose to speak less and reflect more. That's the raw material of transformation. That's where the future is forged. But silence is hard. because silence feels like nothing is happening. No praise, no validation, no results to show off, and in a world addicted to recognition, it's easy to believe that if no one sees it, it must not matter. That's the lie. The truth is, the most powerful shifts happen unseen, like roots growing underground, like a sculptor shaping stone. You keep chipping, keep carving, keep showing up. Slowly, something emerges that wasn't there before. And there is something sacred in that repetition, because it teaches you to love the process. It teaches you that you are not your achievements, you are your rhythm. And rhythm doesn't need applause, it just needs presence. That's what most people miss. They keep waiting for motivation to strike like thunder. But motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes, it's loud and short-lived. What endures is commitment. And commitment is quiet. It's built in silence. It's fueled by vision. It's sustained by choice. You are not lazy. You are distracted by the noise of the world. But silence is the place where clarity returns. When you strip away the noise, you remember what matters. You remember who you're becoming. And in that stillness, you begin again. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be present. Each time you return to the work, you're carving your future. Each time you show up, even when you're tired, even when you feel lost, you're shaping something unshakable. And one day, the world will see the outcome. They'll call it luck. They'll say you changed overnight. But you'll know the truth. You'll know that your strength was born in silence, that your power was cultivated in the shadows, that your future wasn't built by force, it was built by consistency, by choosing yourself over and over again, without needing applause. And let them chase moments. Let them wait for permission. You build in silence. You shape your destiny one quiet choice at a time. That is the real work. That is where your future lives. Inconsistency is not failure, it's forgetfulness. Forgetting why you started weakens your path. Most people don't fail because they lack strength, intelligence, or ability. They fall off because they lose connection with their original intent. They forget the fire that made them begin. And when the fire dims, so does the discipline. Every great journey starts with clarity. You see the goal, feel the energy, and take action. But as time passes, the spark fades. Not because the goal becomes less important, but because the distractions become louder. You get lost in the noise, the doubts, the daily routine. Life starts pulling you in different directions. The mind wanders. The heart grows weary. And suddenly, the steps that once felt meaningful now feel heavy. You're still moving, but not toward anything. You've forgotten the why. And when the why disappears, the what feels meaningless. This is the hidden danger of inconsistency. It disguises itself as weakness, when in truth, it is just misalignment. You haven't failed. You've simply wandered too far from your center. The mind tricks you into thinking you've lost your edge, that maybe you're just not cut out for this. But that's not the truth. You just need to remember. Remember why you woke up early that day, filled with purpose. Remember why you said no to distractions. Why you changed your habits. Remember why you believed the version of you was worth fighting for. When you reconnect with that vision, your energy returns, not from outside, but from within. That's the difference between someone who stays consistent and someone who quits. They remember them. Those who stay the course keep returning to their reason. They revisit their commitment like a sacred vow. They keep their vision alive through ritual, reflection, and presence. They remind themselves, this isn't just something I'm doing, this is who I am becoming. And you don't have to do anything dramatic to remember. It's not about rewriting your life every morning, it's about small moments of reconnection. 5 minutes of silence to reflect, a single journal entry, a reminder written on your wall, a conversation with your future self. That's all it takes to breathe life back into your path. But most people never pause to remember. They think consistency is about pushing harder, grinding, forcing. But without direction, all effort becomes exhaustion. If you don't know what you're walking toward, every step feels like a burden. So pause. Go back. Not to start over, but to reawaken what matters. Return to the source of your desire, and from that place, begin again. Not with guilt, but with grace. You were never meant to be a machine. You're a being with emotion, depth, and complexity. It's natural to drift. What matters is that you notice when you've drifted and come back home to yourself. That's not failure, that's wisdom. Inconsistency is only dangerous when it becomes your identity. But if you can see it for what it really is, a momentary lapse in focus, you gain your power back. You realize, I'm not lost. I just forgot where I was going. And every time you remember, you take back the reins. You shift from confusion to clarity, from doubt to direction, from drifting to deliberate action. That shift is everything. So don't fear inconsistency. Don't shame yourself for falling off. Just remember, reconnect, realign, then move forward. Not with frustration, but with quiet strength. Because the path was never gone, you just needed to see it again. The chaos of life obeys those who obey consistency. Structure bends the storm. This is not just poetic, it is deeply practical. Life, by its very nature, is unpredictable. It swirls with noise, distractions, unexpected turns, and emotional waves. There is always something pulling you off course. Stress, disappointment, temptation, even success. But amidst all this movement, there is a strange and powerful truth. Consistency creates order where there is none. It acts like gravity in a weightless world. Most people try to control life by reacting to it. They wait to feel motivated. They respond to their moods. They adjust their efforts based on outcomes. But this reactionary living places you at the mercy of everything around you. One bad day throws you off for a week. One insult ruins your entire focus. One failure makes you question the path altogether. But there's another way to live, a quieter, more powerful way. You build structure. You show up. You keep a rhythm, even when the world is out of tune. That's what consistency really is, an internal rhythm that doesn't break just because the world does. It doesn't mean you don't feel chaos. It means you don't become chaos. The storms will come, that's guaranteed. Life will throw its curveballs, illness, loss, change, doubt. But if you have habits rooted deep enough, routines that are non-negotiable, they act like anchors. They keep you grounded when everything else tries to pull you away. You begin to move through chaos without being swallowed by it. This is why the most powerful people aren't the loudest or the strongest. They're the most consistent. They don't need to announce their discipline. You can feel it in their calm, in their focus, in the way they walk into a room with purpose, no matter what's going on around them, because they've discovered something the rest of the world overlooks. Structure doesn't limit freedom, it creates it. When you have structure, you don't waste energy deciding every day who you are. You already know. Your actions already reflect it. You don't ask, should I show up today? You just do, because that's what structure does. It removes the noise of choice and replaces it with clarity. And slowly, something beautiful begins to happen. The external chaos doesn't stop, but it starts to revolve around your inner stillness. Your consistent actions start shaping the way people treat you, the opportunities you attract, the resilience you build. Your life, once reactive and scattered, becomes intentional and rooted. Think of a tree in a storm. It doesn't fight the wind, it bends, but it doesn't uproot, because its roots go deep. That's what your habits become. Roots. They don't protect you from all pain, but they stop the pain from defining you. Consistency is not about rigidity, it's about rhythm. You adjust, you adapt, but you stay anchored in the core practices that shape who you are becoming. Whether it's waking up early, writing a page, meditating, working out, showing up to your craft, these acts become sacred, not because they're flashy, but because they are yours. And in a world of chaos, anything that is truly yours becomes powerful. When life gets loud, return to your structure. When emotions rise, return to your rhythm. When things fall apart, return to your small daily acts. Let them remind you, you are not here to be tossed around by every wave. You are here to carve through it with quiet certainty, because in the end, the chaos doesn't win. Consistency does, and structure, patiently and silently, always bends the storm. You don't rise by doing everything. You rise by doing one thing repeatedly until it becomes who you are. In a world obsessed with multitasking, fast results, and chasing everything all at once, this truth has been buried beneath noise. Everyone's trying to master everything, jumping from goal to goal, from one passion to another, from one plan to the next. But here's the secret. Power doesn't come from spreading yourself thin. It comes from concentration, from doing one thing over and over again until it shapes your mind, sharpens your character, and transforms your life. Greatness is not about how many things you do. It's about how deeply you commit to the one thing that calls you. Mastery begins when you stop trying to be everywhere and finally choose to be here, present, focused, committed. Because whatever you repeat, you become. Whether it's excellence or mediocrity, your habits define you more than your intentions ever will. Repetition is hard, it's boring, it's slow. There's no applause in it. No excitement, just the same steps, the same effort, the same grind, again and again. Most people avoid it. They want variety, they want novelty. But what they don't realize is that true transformation hides in the repetition. It's not the new thing that changes you. It's doing the old thing better and deeper each day that does. That's where identity is forged, through repeated discipline, through the small decisions no one sees, through saying yes when it's easier to quit, through doing it when no one's watching. The world may not notice, but your future self does. The stronger version of you is built in that unseen space, where routine replaces inspiration and habit replaces emotion. And the reason repetition is so powerful is because it builds trust within yourself. Every time you show up again, you prove to yourself that you're reliable, that you don't need hype to move, that you don't need motivation to matter. You begin to feel it in your bones. I don't just do this, I am this. You're no longer performing, you're embodying. You don't need to be extraordinary to begin, you just need to repeat something long enough that it becomes automatic, unshakable, instinctive. That's how habits work. And that's how change lasts. Not in dramatic sprints, but in consistent steps. You don't need 10 goals. You need one goal, pursued with depth, discipline, and devotion. Everything else starts to align when you do. But here's the truth. People around you won't understand. They'll question why you're doing the same thing over and over. Why you keep showing up when no results are visible. Why you stay committed when progress feels invisible. They don't understand because they're still chasing variety. Most people search for success like it's something to find. But those who know the truth realize it's something you build, brick by brick, moment by moment, one repeated action at a time. You're not waiting to be discovered. You're sculpting yourself in silence. It will feel slow, but slow is not failure. Slow is depth. Slow is sustainability. You're not here to rise fast, you're here to rise forever. And for that, repetition is your ally. It's not your prison. It's your pathway. It's how the caterpillar becomes the butterfly. It's how the apprentice becomes the master. It's how chaos becomes clarity. Find your one thing, the thing that matters more than anything, the thing that speaks to your soul, not your ego, and give it your all. Not once, not when it's convenient, not when you feel like it, but daily, quietly, relentlessly. Do it until it stops being something you do and becomes the truth of who you are. Because you don't rise by doing everything. You rise by doing one thing consistently, faithfully, fearlessly, until the world has no choice but to see who you've become. Discipline is devotion without noise. It's not the dramatic gesture. It's the quiet promise you keep when no one is looking. Most people mistake discipline for something harsh, rigid, or external. Rules to follow, schedules to obey, punishments for straying. But true discipline doesn't come from pressure. It comes from devotion, a deep inner commitment to who you want to become. And that kind of commitment doesn't shout, it whispers. It doesn't need applause, it needs presence. You won't always feel like doing the work. That's normal. Feelings rise and fall. But discipline remains. Because discipline is not about how you feel, it's about what you do. Especially when feelings are unreliable. That's what separates the ones who transform their lives from the ones who keep restarting. One group waits for the right mood, the other creates the right movement. Discipline is not dramatic, it's not some grand declaration. It's waking up on time, even when your bed begs you to stay. It's choosing silence over scrolling. It's showing up to the workout, the writing desk, the prayer, the practice, when no one else sees and no one else cares. And in that moment you realize something profound. You are the witness. You are the audience you've been waiting for. When your actions are driven by devotion, you stop needing validation. You stop performing. You start aligning. And your life begins to reflect who you truly are inside, not who you pretend to be when others are watching. There's a quiet power in that, because the world is loud with people trying to look disciplined, posting routines, preaching habits, displaying achievements. But real discipline isn't shared. It's lived. It's not curated for the crowd. It's carved in solitude. While others seek recognition, you're busy building reputation with your own soul. You're making deposits into a future only you can see. And those deposits matter. Because success doesn't come from what you occasionally do when you're motivated. It comes from what you always do when you're not. That's where the shift happens, when you stop chasing results and start honoring the process. When you realize that discipline is less about force and more about faith. Faith that what you do today in silence will echo tomorrow in strength. There will be days you doubt it, days when your efforts feel invisible, days when the noise outside seems more appealing than the stillness within. But that's the test. Can you stay loyal to your path when it's no longer exciting? Can you keep moving forward when the applause fades? Those are the moments that shape you, not the easy ones, not the ones filled with praise, but the lonely hours when no one knows what you're doing, and you do it anyway. That's discipline. That's devotion. That's love. Not for the outcome, but for the process itself. People will notice, not because you told them, but because you became someone different, stronger, calmer, clearer. Your presence will speak louder than any words. Your life will carry a frequency that others can feel. Because you didn't just talk about the work, you became the work. So let others chase noise. Let them broadcast what they haven't yet become. You stay rooted, stay silent, stay true, because the deepest transformations happen where no one is watching. Discipline isn't loud, doesn't need to be. It's the quiet decision you make every day. I will not betray myself today, not for comfort, not for praise, not for shortcuts. I will show up for me, because I am worth that kind of devotion. And in that silence, something unshakable begins to grow. You don't need noise. You don't need to prove anything. You just need to keep the promise. Quietly, daily. That's real discipline. That's where power lives. Success doesn't respond to bursts of effort. It responds to sustained alignment. This truth is uncomfortable in a world addicted to instant gratification, quick wins, and temporary motivation. But if you study any meaningful success, whether it's inner peace, mastery, health, or purpose, you'll find it's not built through occasional sprints. It's built by remaining aligned with your values, goals, and actions over time, not once, not twice, but continuously. Most people misunderstand success. They think it's about intensity, how hard you push, how fast you move, how loud you become. So they go all in for a few days or weeks, fueled by emotion. But when the motivation fades, so does the effort. Because what they built wasn't aligned. It was impulsive. It came from pressure, not purpose. Real progress is not an explosion. It's a quiet burn. Alignment is that fire. When your actions match your values and your habits reflect your deeper goals, you enter into a state of flow. You stop chasing results. You become the kind of person who naturally attracts those results. because you're not acting, you're living your truth. This is why consistency matters more than intensity. Anyone can give their best for a day. Anyone can be focused for a moment. But the person who stays aligned, the one who chooses actions that reflect who they want to be every single day, eventually leaves behind those who burn brightly but briefly. Success isn't a race, it's a rhythm. The question is not how hard can you push, but how true can you remain. Alignment brings a kind of strength that hustle can't replicate. You no longer have to fight yourself. There's no inner tug-of-war between what you do and what you want. There's no draining negotiation with your excuses. You become a channel for your purpose. And in that channel, energy flows freely. Decisions become easier. Discipline becomes lighter. You don't have to force yourself every day because you know why you're doing what you're doing. But this kind of alignment requires honesty. Brutal honesty. You have to ask yourself, are my actions aligned with my desired identity? If I say I want peace, why do I keep inviting chaos? If I say I want success, why do I keep feeding my distractions? If I say I want discipline, why do I entertain excuses? The more honest you are, the more aligned you become. And when you are aligned, you gain momentum. Because every step feeds the next. You're not starting over. You're building on a foundation. Every habit reinforces the last. Every small win strengthens your character. Every silent discipline becomes part of your identity. But here's what many don't realize. Alignment doesn't always feel good in the beginning. Sometimes it feels like sacrifice. It feels like resisting comfort, like choosing the gym when your bed feels better, like saying no to validation and yes to solitude. But with time, it becomes your nature. What once felt like discipline becomes instinct. The hard choices become obvious. The distractions lose their power. It's because you've become someone else. Not because of what you forced, but because of what you repeated in alignment. That's the quiet reward. You stop pretending. You stop performing. You no longer need to act like a winner. You are one, because you've aligned your life with the behaviors and values that make it true. And it shows. Not in flashy ways, but in steady growth, unshakable confidence, and a sense of self-respect no one can take from you. If you want to build something real, stop asking for instant results. Start asking, if you're aligned, are your habits aligned with your goals? Is your mindset aligned with your vision? Is your environment aligned with your discipline? When your life is built on alignment, you no longer chase success. You embody it. And that's the kind of success that doesn't come and go. It stays. It grows. And eventually it becomes inevitable. Because success isn't about how much you do in one day. It's about how well your every day reflects who you say you want to be. Stay aligned, stay steady, and let the quiet power of consistency do what chaos never can. Success whispers long before it ever shouts. The world teaches you to chase noise, to seek validation, applause, quick results. But the truth is, the most powerful progress you'll ever make happens in silence, in the quiet hours, in the unseen moments. It begins not with a breakthrough, but with a whisper. Keep going. Do it again. Trust the process. Most people never hear that whisper. They're too distracted by the need to be seen, too addicted to instant results. They plant seeds and expect a harvest by morning. But life doesn't work that way. Mastery doesn't work that way. Real success, deep, lasting, grounded success, grows slowly and silently. You will not always see progress. That's the first truth you need to accept. You will show up again and again, and the mirror won't change, the bank account won't grow, the world won't clap, and you will question it. Is this working? Am I wasting my time? Should I try something else? But that's the exact moment most people quit, when the results are still beneath the surface. You see, success is not just about results. It's about becoming the kind of person who stays consistent even without them. It's about training your mind to move forward without external proof. That's the real growth. That's the part no one claps for, because before success rewards you, it tests you. It wants to see if you stay loyal without attention, if you'll keep your word in the dark, if you'll keep practicing even when no one believes in you, not even yourself. It's not punishing you. It's preparing you to handle the very thing you say you want. When you stay committed during the invisible phase, when the world offers no feedback, no praise, no proof, you're not just building habits, you're building identity. You're becoming someone who does not rely on results to remain committed. You're building a mind that obeys intention, not emotion. And that kind of mind becomes unstoppable, because when your actions are no longer tied to quick gratification, you become dangerous in the best way. You stop being fragile. You stop quitting when it's hard. You stop needing approval. You begin to move from inner vision, not outer noise. And in that space, life begins to shift quietly. The results you seek don't always show up where you expect them, but they come. Not in applause, but in confidence. Not in trophies, but in self-respect. Not in likes or views, but in a steady, clear sense of direction. And when results finally do arrive, they are built on a foundation so deep that nothing can shake them. This is what makes you different from those who start fast but burn out. You don't chase the spark, you build the flame. You don't need the world to watch you. You need to watch yourself. Because when you are proud of your discipline, your consistency, your effort, it doesn't matter how long it takes. You already won something the world can't give you. Let them doubt you, let them overlook you, let the world stay silent. Your job is not to make noise. It's to make progress. Quiet, disciplined, daily progress. That's what compounds. That's what grows, roots before branches. That's what lasts. Every great tree was once a seed hidden in darkness. It did not break the surface on day one. It grew downward first, building strength before height. And so must you. The deeper your roots, the higher you'll rise. But that depth is built in silence, in patience, in the repetition of effort that no one sees. Keep going, even when it's quiet, especially when it's quiet. That silence isn't failure, it's formation. It's the space where the old version of you dies and the stronger version is born. Success isn't loud in the beginning. It doesn't announce itself. It waits to see if you're worthy of it. And you prove that not with noise, but with your silence, with your consistency, with your unseen, unshakable devotion. Whispers become roars, but only for those who learn to trust them. So listen closely, do the work, and let the silence make you strong. The mind is not your enemy, but it can be if left untrained. Most people think failure comes from the outside, a missed opportunity, a closed door, a lack of support. But in truth, the greatest barrier you'll ever face lives inside your own head. Not because it wants to harm you, but because it hasn't been taught how to serve you. An undisciplined mind is impulsive. It gets pulled by every emotion, distracted by every temptation, paralyzed by every doubt. It creates chaos where there could be clarity, hesitation where there should be action. It will convince you to quit, delay, overthink, and sabotage your own progress, all while sounding completely reasonable. That's the danger. The mind doesn't scream, it whispers. And if you aren't vigilant, you believe it. But here's the truth most people never learn. The mind is trainable. Just like the body, it adapts to what you repeatedly do. If you feed it distractions, it craves stimulation. If you indulge every excuse, it stops believing in effort. But if you challenge it, guide it, and discipline it, it becomes your greatest weapon. The key is consistency. You can't tame the mind in a single day. You must show up every day with the same message. We don't wait. We don't break every time it's hot. Most people try to force motivation, but what they really need is mental discipline. Motivation is a feeling. Discipline is a decision. Motivation comes and goes. Discipline stays. And when your mind learns that it doesn't need to feel like it to act, you become powerful. Because now you are no longer a slave to moods. You become someone who moves forward regardless of how loud the inner resistance becomes. And this kind of mental strength doesn't look flashy. It's quiet. It's built in the moments when you feel overwhelmed, exhausted, uninspired. But you do the work anyway. When your mind screams, rest, but your soul says just 5 more minutes. When comfort calls and you ignore it. When doubt creeps in and you move through it. That's when the real training happens. That's when the mind starts to obey your will instead of fighting it. Every act of consistency is a small rebellion against your weaker self. Every time you say yes to the process and no to the excuse, you are carving a new identity, one built not on fleeting motivation, but on unshakable control. And it doesn't mean the negative thoughts stop. It means they stop controlling you. The fear may still speak, but you don't listen. The doubts may rise, but they don't dictate. That's what strength looks like, not the absence of resistance, but mastery over it. And once you begin this inner training, you realize something profound. The battle was never outside. It was always within. You don't need perfect circumstances. You don't need the ideal routine, the best time, or the perfect plan. You just need command over your mind. If your mind obeys your mission, everything else falls into place. This is why so few succeed at the highest level, not because they lack talent, but because they never train their thoughts to serve them. They let the mind lead instead of learning to lead the mind. But the moment you realize that you are the one in charge, everything changes. Now your energy isn't scattered, your focus isn't hijacked, your emotions aren't running the show. You've taken the wheel. And when you're in that place of mental discipline, you don't chase success. You walk steadily toward it. While others spiral in and out of distraction, you stay grounded. While others need motivation, you rely on your principles. While others get shaken, you remain still. Not because life is easier for you, but because you've done the inner work. If you truly want to change your life, Don't just train your body. Train your mind. Teach it to follow your purpose, not your feelings. Teach it to act on values, not impulses. And teach it above all that discomfort is not danger. It's growth in disguise. The mind is powerful, but its power is neutral until you direct it. Left alone, it will wander. Trained, it will carry you. And when it carries you, there is nothing, no fear, no doubt, no delay that can stop you. Discipline your mind, and everything else will follow. Consistency is not a talent, it is not luck, it is a choice. A quiet, deliberate choice made day after day, especially when it's the hardest. Truth is, everything you desire, success, peace, clarity, strength, doesn't come all at once. It comes gradually, quietly, through the steady alignment of your actions with your deepest values. And the bridge that gets you there is consistency. Force yourself to be consistent, not because it's easy, but because the life you want demands it. You won't always feel motivated. You won't always see immediate results. But if you remain disciplined in your silence, if you act from purpose rather than impulse, the invisible will become visible. The roots will break through the surface. The quiet efforts will begin to echo. This is not about perfection. It's about persistence. It's about showing up when no one claps, moving forward when no one sees, trusting the process when doubt is loud. And when your mind tries to pull you off course, remind it, we don't need to feel ready. We just need to stay aligned. It's not the loudest who succeed. It's the most faithful, the ones who kept walking when no one was watching, the ones who made consistency their compass. Let your life be proof that slow, steady devotion wins. Everything you seek is already waiting on the other side of who you become when you refuse to stop. Force yourself to be consistent, and everything else will fall into place.